All right. Anyway, so I'm assuming the sound stuff is everything's good. We're all good. So, welcome, Robbie. I'm very excited to have you on the stream. I'm an old school. I'm not really that old school. I was just gonna say I've been a Sweet Trip fan for a long time. Back when I became a Sweet Trip fan, I like understood Sweet Trip to be like a pretty dope like underground band that like only real music nerds really like knew about, maybe back in like 2000. I don't know, I've been listening to Sweet Trips probably since 2013, which is like, you know, I know you were putting out music since the 90s, so that doesn't seem probably too like long of a fan to you if you've got probably fans from like all the way back the early 2000s, but it does seem to me, and maybe I could be wrong, um, it does seem to me that Sweet Trip has in the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years have like increased in popularity, maybe from Spotify algorithms or Rate Your Music or whatever. Like, do you feel like there's been a bit of a Sweet Trip revival sort of thing, or is that just kind of my imagination?
No, I think that's I don't know, as accurate as I can perceive it. Yeah, I think that I would say somewhere between 2015 up until now. I think Spotify probably helped a lot in getting our music out, and Rate Your Music absolutely had a big hand on that as well. So yeah, definitely. Um, it's
Awesome.
it's kind of crazy, but it is what it is, and
Yeah, I'm kind of annoyed. I wish that you stayed a little bit more underground, so I just a little bit more indie credit when people were asking for good music. I'd be like, well, I know this band Sweet Trip. If you know what IDM is and shoegaze is, well, I know one of the few bands that really do that and they nail it. Um, but no, I mean it's honestly really exciting, and like I love your newest album from this year. Like, not gonna lie, when I saw you were releasing a new album, I was excited, but I was like pretty nervous because your three albums beforehand were like pretty much perfect, and I'm like, okay, they're doing a comeback album. Are they gonna put a little dent in their perfect discography with a new album that maybe doesn't live up to their previous stuff? But no, I love the newest album, and I think there are definitely, I mean, they all have their own charm, so I can really go between back and forth between any of them. But I will say, on many days, if not most days, your newest one is the one that is my favorite. And I'm listening to the most. It just it's very, very just like, makes you feel good. It's like a I think I described in my review like almost like a lullaby of some sort. It's so really chill. So congrats on that.
thank
Um,
you.
yeah. So I got lots of questions. Like I don't know. Like I guess going back to the 90s when you got started with this project, like I guess if you could talk a little bit about getting the band started, because it's a pretty interesting. Oh, by the way, yes, I see a lot of people in the chat with lots of love and questions and stuff. Thanks for coming through. We'll definitely be reading your questions and stuff, but I want to get to my questions first because it's my stream. Uh,
Priorities.
yeah, exactly. So going back to the 90s, you guys got started with this cool project. And I don't know, it's pretty interesting because you were doing already, like, even in your debut album, like, bringing together, like, techno elements with, like, kind of alternative rock, dream pop stuff. Um, I guess, like, kind of how did that kind of, like, fall into place? Because from the way I perceive it, it does seem like your band was a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of bringing together these kind of specific elements of like electronic music with like these kind of more obscure subgenres of rock.
Mhm. Well, I think that I think we always had or at least for me, I always had an interest in making big sort of like orchestral sounding music, and I was really limited by the equipment that we had at the time, which was really just like a four track, a drum machine, guitars, and cheap effects, and um, maybe like a really crappy synthesizer here and there, even a Casio keyboard. And so like I always had, well, not always, but like as I started writing music and getting more comfortable with making and producing, if you call it producing on a 4 track, more comfortable with that, I had this like desire of making big sounding songs and big sounding production. Um, but obviously at that time I didn't have access to like I didn't have access to like 1,000 square feet of like gear.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
um you know nor did I know like a lot of musicians who could play like the violin and the saxophone and the flute and blah 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 and all this other stuff. So I had to sort of like DIY things. But I didn't know how until um until I came across Seafeel. And not only Seafeel, but I would say like Seafeel and this other band called Insides. Insides is a 4AD band. It's a couple, and they were doing this like kind of minimal pop with guitars and bass, but it had the electronic background. It had the drum machines, it had the bleeps and the bops and all this stuff. And that record sort of told me that I didn't have to wait a billion years for me to have the money to get a huge recording studio or meet a bunch of people with different types of skills and different instruments. It just it sort of like gave me the push or the incentive to say like, I can maybe write these songs um, by just like abusing the little things that I had at the time.
Hmm.
Um, and the same thing was with Seafeel. Seafeel kind of like came from like the wake of My Bloody Valentine, with the shoegazy guitars and things like that. But Seafeel also had a really strong electronic music background. Um, lots of heavy bass, lots of like heavy drum sounds, and very ethereal, very ambient, but very interesting. Definitely different than a lot of the things that we were listening to at the time.
Hmm.
And that also sort of like that record and that music also kind of like told me like, yeah, it's actually okay. Like if you want to pursue this like big production thing, you can.
Oh
And
yeah.
this is like the other way that you could do it. You don't have to wait for the San Francisco symphony to to like record your songs. You can actually just like abuse your guitar with all these effects and things like that. um
Nice.
so those so those two bands were instrumental in doing that. And at the same time, we were all getting influenced, not only by shoegaze, but also by electronic music in general. Autechre, Aphex Twin, LFO, The Black Dog, all the big, I would say, like intelligent dance music from the early to mid 90s and things like that. We were totally in love with that.
Yes.
And
I'm just
yeah,
biggest Autechre fan. And what were the two you said? Seafeel, and what was the other one that you said were like kind of the initial ones that got you inspired?
Insights.
I gotta listen to some of that because I'm sure like it's probably pretty good. I love this background though, because
Mhm.
it sounds like basically you like kind of you set your ambitions like real high, and then you're like, okay, I need to go from here to there,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna do it one way or the other, and you kind of learn from these artists that you can just hammer away at the tools you have to make it happen one way or another.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another one that was instrumental for me was Bjork, especially with the Homogenic record,
Hmm.
um, the one that has all is full of love and all that stuff. It's a good record. I don't consider it like my favorite record, but at the same time, it was like instrumental and influential to me because she brought the orchestral weird acoustic sounds, her voice, and then on the background you have these like super distorted, super chaotic electronic music soundtrack by the guy from LFO, who co-produced that record. And that was like, wow, yeah, yeah, like if they can do it, I can do it. I just need to figure out how. So yeah,
Nice.
I think those three records are pretty instrumental to
Awesome.
deciding to do that.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about Bjork. Like, I don't listen to her music that often, but every time I do, I'm just like, whoa! Like, there's just so many like layers of like and things that are like super impressive about it, and I can definitely see that. Definitely inspiring. So that's pretty dope. So, um, I guess like what was like kind of like I guess like going into the your album like Velocity Design Comfort, I feel like that's where I could really hear a lot of the like more intense kind of like Autechre kind of IDM sort of influence. Like I feel like that's where the it's like the most intense blend of the IDM and shoegaze. I mean your whole discography does it, but I feel like for me maybe that's just because I was like the first record from your band that I listened to, and it just kind of stuck out to me like whoa. Uh, like by then, that was your second album. Was there any point in time with your band where you were able to kind of like actually get access to like a proper studio, or was it kind of just like throughout your entire sort of time as a band you were kind of just hammering away sort of like with your like kind of lo-fi instruments?
I think it's a mixture of those things. I mean, years before we started working on Velocity Design Comfort, I got a I got a proper PC computer, so it was a Windows machine. um, and I've always been interested in always been interested in computer tweaking and computer programming and things like that. So I took this PC and I try to like tweak it as much as I could so I can get as much juice out of it. Um, but still, it's a PC from like the late '90s, early 2000s. Um, and then I also started discovering like plugins and digital software and things like that. So that, in a way, was sort of like building up, I will say, quote unquote, a proper studio for me.
Gotcha.
Maybe not a proper studio for anyone else at that time,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, it was kind of like a proper studio. And at the same time, that studio, that computer lived in my tiny little bedroom at home. you
Gotcha.
know,
Yeah.
so it's a combination of the two.
Gotcha. Yeah, to me, it kind of blows my mind. Like, I feel like today it's so easy to just download whatever software and plugins and everything and kind of get going. But
Mhm.
even with all of the YouTube tutorials and software available and everything, it's still pretty hard as a new musician to wrap your head around all the music production and mixing and mastering and all that stuff. I'm still learning, and I've been doing it for a
Mhm.
long time. So it's for me like visualizing back in the late '90s, early 2000s, when you had these like old ass computers and it was just kind of still kind of coming together. It kind of blows my mind that you must have it was just such like a super obscure kind of weird thing, but I mean it worked. Oh, by the way, I just want to say real quick to the people in the chat, first off, thanks to the people who have subscribed. That's super awesome. I didn't say thank you before, but thanks so much. And also, and thanks for people following. And I will get to, I see you have some good questions here. um, Let me actually just go ahead and see here. We got this good one from Bauhaus Bravo. As a Brazilian Latino, I've always identified with Sweet Trip in some aspect, and seeing old photos of you guys make me reminisce of pre-pandemic days where I would hang out with my friends on some noise gigs. Oh, okay, that's not a question. That's just a nice comment. Well, thank you. I'm actually
Thank you.
Brazilian too. I'm Brazilian. I don't. So you and I. Uh,
Oh wow, Porra.
yeah. Are you Brazilian? No, no.
No, I'm not. I'm
Okay.
not. But
Okay.
but
Well,
I only know like two or three words in Portuguese. So.
yeah, me too. Me too. So it's all good. But anyways, good to see we got some Brazilians in the chat. Um, and yeah, and then someone asked if you have to pay for you have to donate money to ask questions. No, you don't. Just throw the questions in there. I kind of want to just have like a little conversation right now with Robbie, but then I'm sure later in the chat, we'll definitely be probably more engaged with the chat. But oh, here's a good
Or
one.
Or if you want to get something from Instacart and have it delivered over here,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
Like if you,
totally fine with that.
yeah, like I mean, yeah, if
I'm
you want
just
to pay
kidding, just
for,
kidding, just kidding.
yeah, I'll send you my Amazon wish list, and every time someone buys something, I'll answer another question. So, um, did Sweet Trip use Ableton for Velocity design comfort?
Sorry, repeat that again.
Oh, did Sweet Trip use Ableton for Velocity design comfort?
Oh no, that was done in Cubase.
Cubase. Okay.
Mhm.
I didn't even know Cubase existed back in 2003. Like I have no clue. Like to me, like making music before 2010 is just like a mystery, a big question mark to me. But okay, now I know Cubase. I learned a little bit of Cubase. I've it's pretty good, but must have been a
Yeah,
little bit different in
I,
2003.
yeah, I like Cubase a lot. There are a lot of things that I used to do in Cubase that I did in Cubase for Velocity Design Comfort that I really miss in Ableton Live. To be honest, and also I don't think that Ableton Live was even around
Now,
when we were recording Velocity Design Comfort. So
yeah, interesting. Yeah, I mean that to me is so weird. Like to think of, yeah, I don't even. I'm actually gonna Google that real quick. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna Google
yeah, totally.
when was Ableton. See, this is a good question right here that I've been.
I might be totally wrong because I think that they just celebrated their 20th anniversary, so they probably came out in 2001.
Yeah.
So like,
Oh, okay.
I guess I'm wrong. I guess I'm wrong.
Yeah. So it's 1999. So you're wrong.
Oh,
You're not a real. You're not. Are you really the real Robbie? You don't seem to know very much here about music. Not just kidding.
bye.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah. Uh, but no, I didn't know. I didn't know that either, and I kind of still. It's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around. Like, I still don't really understand. Like, how do you program a DAW? Like, to me, that's kind of a mind. I don't really understand any of that. But so, anyways, um, so your newest album, I guess I'm kind of curious about. So was your newest album? Was that just you and Valerie mostly, where you're working on the songs, like the um and what was that process like? How did that kind of like get started working on your new album?
So we reconnected in 2019. Because we were asked to do an interview, and after that, we just we realized that we missed each other a lot. We missed working with each other, having fun and laughing and being super silly like we are, and that just sort of like that personal connection, that kind of like heart to heart, soulful connection that we have, sort of like ignited the flame to start doing things again. I believe, Valerie makes fun of me for this every once in a while, but I think that I just like blindly announced on Twitter, like right after we announced that VDC was getting a reissue, that that we should probably start making music again. So stay tuned or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then after that, after the excitement of saying, I was like, oh shit, I actually have to like, we actually have to make it happen
Well,
now.
thank God, honestly. Like that's okay. So kind of an impulsive tweet led to your newest music. Okay, well that's good to know. But it sounds pretty. Like, have you been with the songs that are on the new album? Have you been like working on those for a long time, or was it literally like after you tweeted that you're like, oh shit, I gotta start writing stuff? Or was this kind of stuff that you've been working, like, kind of had in the vault for a while that you kind of like took out and like perfected for the newest album?
As far as I can remember, there are two songs that had been written way before we got back together. One of them is Polar Equals. I think that was written. So we started working on the record in 2019. Um, so I will say 4, 5, 6 years or so before that, like a demo of the track Polar Equals that's on the record. I made that in some sleepless night. And the other track, in Sound We Found Each Other, um, that track, it's actually fairly old. I believe that it was written around the time that You Will Never Know Why was recorded, maybe a little after, maybe a little before. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Other than that, as soon as we said, let's start making music together, everything else, aside from those two songs, they just like they were worked on and I don't know, conjured out of air from that point on. So
Gotcha.
that's yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I can definitely see a little bit of a musical continuation from the you'll never know why era, and but I mean it's dope because you managed to actually make that a very unique project of its own that doesn't just sound like that's what I was saying. It was like my main worry is like, oh shit, Sweet Trip's making another album. Are they just gonna rehash their old stuff and then call it a day, or are they gonna try to do something new? But it sounds like you all managed to really knock it out of the park in terms of like expanding your discography, trying out new things, and I've got a few questions here that I think are that I actually definitely think are stuff I was planning on asking anyways. Quick question and no pressure. I know there's a pandemic, but do you have any plans regarding like touring or any sort of like future kind of plans like that? Because that would be pretty epic. That would be pretty epic.
Yeah, that will be really awesome. I would love to do that. At the moment, I cannot say. At the moment, I cannot say anything about touring. Even if it's just like a simple like, yeah, we're gonna play shows in 2022. There are a few things that need to be ironed out and sort of like um, figure out before we can even just like simply say that. But other than that, yeah, I will love to do that. I will love to travel as far as I can and meet people and play out and stuff. I miss it.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, exactly. Someone here said we're hoping that with the album, how you impulsively tweeted that there's a new album coming, you would also say impulsively that you are for sure 100% doing a 2022 tour. But at least the fact that you said that you'd like to me that's good. That's good enough. So we'll keep pressuring you. And I'm here. I live in Brooklyn, by the way. So if you ever want to play in
Oh,
Brooklyn, hit me up. I'll put a show together for you. I know the good venues and everything, so
awesome,
I'll make it easy for you.
awesome. Is Fest still around? Is Fest still a club in New York?
Probably not because
Mm.
one, it doesn't ring a bell, and two, with the pandemic, like lots of stuff closed. Like it's been like
Mm.
basically since the pandemic, I've been having to reorient my entire brain of like I had like my go-to favorite places to play shows. Half of them closed. Some of them changed their names and are like completely rebranded themselves. And I'm still kind of
Mhm.
like figuring out what are the cool places to play shows. But um, I've got some, I've kind of got it figured out by now. I played a show in July that was a lot of fun. But anyways, don't even do a tour. Just come to New York. Come to New York and I'll buy you a beer and I'll play a little show in my apartment here on the acoustic guitar. So. Um,
Awesome. Every time that I go to New York, I always do a pizza tour. So that
mm,
that will be the tour, I guess.
dope. And your band is from it's like was it San Francisco?
I will say general Bay Area
Bay
at this
Area.
point.
Okay. See, I
Yeah.
don't live in California, so I don't know the difference between Bay Area and San Francisco. But I'm assuming you got San Francisco and then the Bay Area, just like a little bit bigger area, right? Is that right?
It's more like the Bay Area is the big thing, and San Francisco is like right at the center of it.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
Good to
Yeah.
know. Okay. Interesting. Well, I've never been to San Francisco. I would love to go. I know shit's expensive as fuck right now because of like the
Hmm.
tech stuff, but I will. If I go, I'm gonna hit you up. So just a FYI. So
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be awesome.
good, good. What are the former Sweet Trip members up to this day? I would love to hear about the other Sweet Trip members, both like in terms of their personality, their creativity, working with
Mhm.
them. You know what I mean? Like what's going on with just like the whole everybody in Sweet Trip right now? You know?
Well, as far as personality is concerned, all the other the former Sweet Trip members are all a bunch of assholes, and I hate them all. I'm just kidding. Um,
Oh, okay, yeah. I believed
I'm
you
just
for a second. I was like, oh, is that true about Valerie? Okay, all right, yeah,
no, I'm totally kidding.
yeah, yeah.
So so yeah, I'm still in touch with all three of them. Viet Lei, who is like a founding member. He's like the founding member of one of the founding members of Sweet Trip. He lives in Orange County. He's a firefighter. He has a beautiful family, a great life. Sounds like he's just having a great time.
Good.
Um, Aaron Porter, who played bass for us and also did some like tabla treatments on one of the tracks in Velocity Design Comfort. So he is also married, three beautiful kids, and he owns what I believe um, is like one of the first San Francisco like Belgian beer specialty beer bars that ever came up. It's called The Trappist. He's having a lot of success with that. Lots of
Nice. All
fun
right.
with.
Well, I'm gonna be going there then. Maybe I can find
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
online. Is it just like a brewery or is it just like a bar? What is it really?
It's a bar. It's a
All right,
bar.
I'm gonna stop there.
Yeah.
By the way, somebody asked. I'm drinking this Blue Point lager. It's really good.
Cool.
I was just like someone asked what beer I was drinking. I'm just in a lager mood today. So
I'll share mine.
there
I
we
don't know if you can
go.
see it.
All
It's
right.
what is this? It's an Elysian Space Dust IPA.
IPA. There we go. Yeah. I'm usually an IPA guy, but today, every once in a while, I'm just like, fuck. I need to change it up a little bit, so I'm doing a lager today. Um,
Yeah, understood. The last person will be Rob, Rob Witinko, who played drums in You Will Never Know Why, and
gotcha.
also play some shows with us. He is he is known for playing drums for like 72 billion bands in the Bay Area,
Okay.
and I am I'm fortunate enough to be playing with one of the bands right now. I just play guitar. That's just my task with this band. They're called Starry Eye Cadet. Pretty awesome dream pop shoegazy stuff, and that is his main project at the moment. He also played drums for some other, you know, pretty well known Bay Area bands. One of them was Julie Plug. It's an all Filipino band that has a really huge and like passionate following. So that's what he's up to.
Gotcha. Okay, that sounds dope. Someone asked here, when Sweet Trip came back for the newest album, was there any talk about Aaron or Rob coming on too, or is it just kind of just was between you and Valerie?
It was between me and Valerie. There was no like I didn't consider asking Aaron to do something because I know he's like super busy.
Yeah.
Three kids and a bar, and he's also like a freelance architect, drafter, I think, or architect. I forget what it is.
Okay.
So he's like stretched out fairly thin. So it will be kind of like pointless to ask him. And as far as Rob is concerned, I thought about it, but um, there were a lot of things that were happening, I guess, in my head musically,
Yeah. Yeah.
where I just wanted to like just like keep it within the well. I mean, Rob is family, so keeping it within the family is kind of like not the right choice of phrase, but just sort of like keeping it intimate between me and Valerie.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Oh, I think that was a great decision, honestly. Obviously, everybody who's been involved in Sweet Trip, obviously, very talented, all sound like great people. But I feel like you can definitely hear the intimacy in the newest record. Like it really does sound like there's two people working on it, and at least in terms of a creative decision, I think that was pretty dope. But so Aaron, I mean, I'm still kind of like interested in this bar. I need to go. What's the name of this bar again? I need to stop by it. Or if you don't know, you should tweet it. Let us know so we can all go and ask you. Go to
it's
Aaron's
called
bar. What's it
it's
called?
called the Trappist. The Trappist. Here, I'll type it on
Okay,
the
great.
Twitch. The Trappist in Oakland. Go check it out. Wait a second. I can't. For some reason, I can't chat. So
Oh, okay. Well, spell it out for me. I'll try it right now.
okay, Trappist. Trappist. The Trappist, and it's in Oakland, California,
All right.
Bay Area,
So
California.
anybody who is in the chat in Oakland, if there's anybody there, get your ass to the Trappist. Say I need to speak to the manager, Aaron, and then go ahead and harass his ass about Sweet Trip and demand he does a tour in 2022. So just saying.
He's
Um,
not. He's not there tonight, but he might be there tomorrow.
okay, you heard it. You heard it here. Tomorrow, everybody. Should be the day. Um, Okay, well, that sounds dope. Like, honestly, I haven't been, like I said, never been to San Francisco. I've never been to the Bay Area. I've been to a little bit of LA. I got some family there, but, like, I feel like
Cool.
California in general, I don't know it super well, but my idea of California is Sweet Trip. When I think of California, I think of some Sweet Trip vibes, just hanging out on the beach, playing shoegaze. That's my idea of my stereotype of California, if I'm being honest. Do you and
No,
Valerie
that's
speak
cool.
Spanish?
No, only I do.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
nice.
So, Valerie speaks Tagalog, so she's Filipino.
Oh, nice, cool.
Mhm.
What is the best genre of music? Another good question. All right, we're just going for the big ones, I guess.
Um,
Specifically, the blend of shoegaze and IDM.
I don't really. That's a question that it cannot be answered. Like
Yeah,
your favorite genre is your favorite genre. It might not be mine, but it's yours, and that's more important. It's important because it's yours, and it's yours to keep, and it's yours to feel. That's my
yeah.
answer.
Absolutely. That's one thing I've learned as, I've been doing YouTube music reviews and stuff like that, reviewing albums and everything. And I've definitely seen that pretty much every genre has a lot of complexity, a lot to offer. Like for me, I've always been a big fan of punk and rock music, and that's always going to be my favorite. But I've, past couple years, past 3, 4 years, I've been like really, really into to hip hop, and
Cool.
there's no doubt that like in terms of what the genre of hip hop has achieved so far, and probably will continue achieving in the future, is just it's equally it's there's you can say it's absolutely equally as complex and full of emotion as any other genre. So
Mhm.
I agree with that. There really is no best genre, but for the
No, not
sake of
really.
the sake of the punk revolution now YouTube channel, we're gonna say the best genre is punk. So okay, there we go. That's the answer.
That's
Yeah,
really awesome.
yeah.
I
Well,
don't really like. I'm not really that
yeah,
versed in punk at all.
yeah.
But I do have some punk favorites. Like, um, I think that when we were trying to reconnect, and I really thought that
Hmm,
I really
hmm.
thought that the chat was going to be populated by a lot of like hardcore punk
No,
and all that
it's
stuff.
all my
People. I was like,
subscribers are
oh my god.
frauds. They all say they're all subscribed to the Punk Revolution channel, but none of them. Do any of you actually listen to punk, or are you all frauds? But
I wonder,
yeah,
but it's okay if you're a fraud because I'm a punk fraud as well. So
I am not a punk fraud. I am the one punk keeping. Okay, we got someone here. I listen to punk. I listen to crossover thrash is badass. Okay, all right. So we got some punk fans. All right, we got some punk fans. All right, all right.
awesome,
But
awesome.
um, and thanks again to everybody in the chat. Like this is really entertaining. I love to see all the messages and the questions coming through. Some good questions. It's very very entertaining to see what people are saying. Anyways, what was the next? I had a question that. Okay, this is a good one. What was the main inspiration for the Tiny Houses album cover?
Ooh, okay, yeah. This is a really funny story. So we were thinking, well, we were trying to figure out what kind of artwork we should create for the record. Um, we knew that the record was really intimate, um, all about love and passion, and being soulmates and all this stuff. Um, and with those emotions, we knew that, or like not knew, but just like sort of like felt that we wanted to do something really lush, but
Mm-hmm.
we didn't know what that was going to be. Um, I came across a YouTube video from Vox Media where they were talking about the peacock chair
Mm-hmm.
and how the rattan chair, the peacock chair appears in a lot of records in like the 60s and the 70s and even the 80s, even through the 90s and the 2000s, with like people like I don't know, like I'm thinking maybe like Burt Bacharach, all the way to Outcast in the 2000s,
Mm-hmm.
and how the chair was really iconic. And then I just share that with Valerie because I thought the video was really funny and really interesting, music history and all that stuff. And Valerie was like, "Oh my god, we should do that," right? And then I said, "Okay, sure, let's do it. It's really corny, it's really cheesy, um, but it's just like aesthetically voluptuous."
Yeah.
um, that it will be kind of cool to like just go overboard with that.
Yeah.
But then I said, but we'll have to take pictures with the chair and we will have to be on the cover. And Valerie was like, okay, never mind. It's like, even though we have an Instagram account and we share pictures and blah, blah, and all this stuff, the idea of our pictures on the album cover was like a no.
Yeah.
And so we like try to explore other things. Kind of we explore something about like oil painting art, paintings
Mm-hmm.
in general, and nothing was really like gelling. Nothing was really falling. The pieces were not falling. And so like one day Valerie was like, you know, maybe we should do this. Maybe we should like revisit the peacock chair and do something like really lush and kind of kitschy and kind of
Yeah.
cheesy,
Yeah.
but very opulent and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, fine. You do realize that we have to take like pictures of ourselves to do this, right? And
Yeah.
she's like, okay, fine. So we did. We took pictures with our friend Sadie took the pictures, and Valerie's twin sister Veronica, she bought a peacock chair
Okay.
used from some guy in Hayward, like so somewhere in the Bay Area. Not for the purpose of us taking a picture of her, but just because we had shared with her that we wanted to do that, and she saw the chairs and she was like, "Oh my god, I want a chair for myself," and so she got it, and we were like, "Hell yeah, now we can use it." um, and so like we took pictures, this and that. We worked with an artist, Martin, who does a lot of work for Darla Records, our label,
Mm-hmm.
and we shared the pictures and we shared the ideas that we wanted something really lush, really romantic, um, really like heartwarming in a way. Um, and at the same time, um, to keep it sort of light and sort of kitschy and sort of like tacky, because that's who we are. That's what me and Valerie are all about. We're a bunch of goofballs and we like cheesy things, and we're not afraid to to let the world know that we are like that. And so we just went with it, and that's in a way that's the story of the album cover.
I love that. I love that album cover. I love that album cover because
Thank
I
you.
mean I've seen that people, you know, on Rate Your
Yes.
Music are fighting like, no, it's too
Hmm.
corny. No, it's
Hmm.
awesome. I'm just like, okay, this the fact to me the fact that people are like are losing their shit, not understanding like that it's like a really like I don't know, it's cute. I love you've put you've sealed the Sweet Trip project in this legacy with the chair. Maybe I should buy myself a chair and put it right here, and I can sit on the peacock chair too. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
absolutely. It's
Uh,
really uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable.
okay.
But
Yeah.
it's a really beautiful chair to have in your apartment if you can afford it.
I
it's
will.
really it's
Yeah.
really expensive.
I will. I'm gonna save up for it. Like I could save up my money so I can work on getting a better, studio,
Mhm,
whatever. No, I'm gonna buy a chair.
mhm.
I'll buy a
And
peacock
it's
chair.
really
Yeah.
and it's really funny. It's really funny because when we finalized the cover, you know um we didn't really expect so much negative feedback about the cover itself. Um, because in our minds, not only did it like complement the music, we thought that it complemented the music as being like and the record as being like super romantic and super about love and emotions and all
Yeah.
this stuff. Um, but we also saw the humor in it,
Mm.
and it was really surprising to see people react so negatively about the
That's how I
cover.
felt too. I was like, this is a cute. It's like such a low key. It's like a cute cover. It's kind of funny, and then people are having
Yeah,
like visceral reactions, like, "No, I want to see some complex art like Velocity Design Comfort." It's like, chill
yeah,
out. It's a
yeah.
cute cover, and that's the thing. Is like that's the best kind of cover. If you got people talking
Mhm,
about the cover, if you got people like arguing about the cover, then you got a good cover because
mhm.
people are gonna listen to that album.
I mean,
And
that's great. I guess
yeah,
like in infamy, you can totally ride infamy to success in some way or another. But
yeah.
but who knows? But at the same time, it's kind of weird because I I I felt that after like the 5+ years of like of our music gaining so much momentum, that there is some sort of like level of expectation from people about what we are, what we should do, and how we should represent what we are and what we do
Yeah.
to the outside world. Um, we're totally aware of that,
Mm.
and at the same time, no disrespect to anyone, um, but we make music for ourselves first, and we do things for ourselves first,
Hmm.
and that's just really how it's not, if it sounds like cocky or
No, 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 no.
self-righteous,
Not at all.
I'm sorry if it does,
Yeah.
but I feel that every person who delves in the arts should follow that at
100%.
100%,
100%. You can tell. If someone's making music to try to chase what other people want from them, you can tell. You can tell.
Mhm.
If you got inspiration like from inside and you chase that, that's going to be way way more interesting. So, I get it for sure. And honestly, I see it as one of those I see it as an album cover that it's gonna like fluctuate over time. There's gonna be times where the cover is really cool. There's gonna be times where people aren't understanding the appeal of it. It's gonna fluctuate. So I say honestly, yeah, you can think of like the Velocity Design Comfort and You'll Never Know Why album covers and Halika. Great covers,
Thank you.
undeniably.
Thank
But
you.
but you threw this kind of wild card cover in there with this funny chair. It's cute. It's funny. It's got people fighting. Like to me, that's like the cherry on top. You got great music. Why not throw a fucking album cover in there? That's gonna. So you nailed it. And
And
I yeah.
the funny thing about that is that the cover for our first record, Halika, the cover for Velocity Design Comfort, and the cover for You Will Never Know Why,
Mm-hmm.
um, we're not we're not we're they were not things that we were like totally 100% involved in.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, Viet, one of our former founding member, he came up with the idea for the cover for Halika. Velocity Design Comfort. It was, we Darla asked Andrew Prince from a band called Mahogany. It's also from your area, from New York.
Okay.
Super awesome band, and he's also a designer and a graphic person, and he came up with that as well. And then for You Will Never Know Why, we just didn't know what we wanted to do for the artwork whatsoever. So Aaron Porter, who played bass for us, the guy from the Travis, he just basically one day said like, okay, you guys are not making up your minds. I'm just gonna come up with something. Here's what I have, and we're like, okay, sure. Um,
Nice.
So it's really funny that at least from my assessment that the artwork for VDC and the artwork for You Will Never Know Why are so like appraised by people, but then like the one time when like me and Valerie like 100% had like 100% input on the cover, it was like
Yeah,
so
yeah, I know. I get it. I
it
get
kind
it. You know, I've been through the same thing too with my. I play in this band, Died. We've released like two EPs and an album, and every single time with the album artwork, it's like a mind fuck because you look at that album
of
cover and you look at it 10 times, you know what I mean? And then from there on, you have no clue. Like, what am I looking at right now? Or what are people going to think when they see this? It's like, it's so hard. And at the same time, you know, as a musician, you're really focused on the music. And obviously, you love the fun of picking an album cover, but it's just like it's like a whole weird thing where, I don't know, like for me personally, you know, our first EP as Died, that's like the cover that our first EP cover, like we had the most fighting about when we released it. We got the most amount of people saying it's ugly as fuck. But now,
okay.
7 years later, or I don't know, not 7 years, like 6 years later into this band, that's my favorite album artwork because it's just
Cool.
it has like to me it has the most like chaotic energy kind of like coming out of it. Like I look at it and I just feel so much power in a weird way. Even though a lot of people have been saying it's ugly, I think it's dope. Who comes up with the
Yeah.
lyrics? That's a good question. Who's contributing the lyrics here to Sweet
Um,
Trip?
I guess I do.
You do. Nice. Okay. Cool. We got some good questions here. Do you have any pets? Do you have any pets, Robbie?
I used to have a cat. No longer have a cat, so I guess currently I don't have pets.
Okay. So cats don't have 9 lives? Or did it?
No,
No, no. Okay. All right.
no, they don't.
All right. Well, that's kind of sad. I have a cat too. She'll probably be coming around at any time to come meow and try to hang out. But oh, that's a good question, Robbie. Do you play video games, or do you have any favorite video games or anything like that?
Oh shoot. I used to play video games, not religiously. So I think when I grew up in the '80s, I was playing a lot of '80s video games when I was a kid. That's how old I am. Um, so things like Frogger and Burger Time. Um, in the '90s,
Frogger, yes. Frogger is so fun, dude.
Frogger is fun. I love Frogger. I love Donkey Kong, and I love Cubert. Cubert is a favorite of mine as well.
Yo, don't. Oh my
Um,
god, bro. Like, this is so funny because, like, I'm so used to hearing, like, Call of Duty or whatever, and then you're just like, oh, you know, Donkey Kong, Frogger. Like, okay, bro, we get it, man. Like, you grew up in the
yeah,
'80s, man. I get it. That's dope. That's dope.
yeah, totally.
You were you
In
were
the
you were
'90s,
ahead of the curve, though. You know what I mean?
no,
Like,
I was behind. I
you
was
were
behind
behind.
the curve.
Okay, you were behind the curve. In terms of music, though, you were ahead of the curve. So at least you have that. You know what I
Nah,
mean?
I don't know
So
about
I will
that,
I
but
will say that, like, I will say if someone released Velocity Design Comfort today, the Pitchfork review would say like innovative blend of IDM and shoegaze, saying it's ahead of the time. You know what I mean? And you did that back in the early 2000s. So you know, musically, way ahead of the curve, way ahead. I still hear all these bands trying to do the same shit. So for real, like, you know, like just to be real direct about it, I love the fuck out of your music. So inspirational. Everybody in the chat too. You know, we love your music. We are so happy that you've contributed so much to the indie music scene. Like everybody I know, you know, thinks very highly of your music and thinks you know it's been
thank you.
bigger inspiration. So
Thanks.
yes, okay. Let's see what other questions we got here. How let's see. I love you, Robbie. Okay, yeah. I just said that. You don't have to say that. You don't have to say that. Let's see. Lots of like these nerdy questions. Like, chill out. We're not trying to be too nerdy. We already asked about the video games. We got the nerdy questions out of the way. Um, let's see here. Uh, I guess that's a good question. How did all the bandmates meet?
Hmm. So I met Viet. Um, standing in line at my high school talent show.
Hmm.
I was gonna play a Led Zeppelin song against a boombox just by myself,
Nice, nice.
and somehow he was signing up for a talent. He was right behind me in line, maybe like two or three kids behind me. Um, and he was signing up for the talent show, but I don't think he had a project or anything that he was gonna like showcase at that point. But anyway, point is that I was standing in line and I had my guitar and I was ready to sign up, and he like kind of like tapped me on the shoulder, like, "Do you play guitar?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, I'm holding a guitar back here. Yes. He's like, "Well, do you want to like do something together?" And I was like, "Sure, whatever." Um, so I met him. I started going to his mom's house, and we started jamming in his garage to get ready for this talent show. I forget what song we were going to play. Oh yeah, no, I do remember we were going to play "Alive" by Pearl Jam.
All right, good choice, good choice.
So we went from like Led Zeppelin to Pearl Jam, something a little more appropriate or whatever. Um, the talent show got canceled,
Mm.
but we kept playing together and just jamming and figuring out our musical personalities and things like that. We had another friend from high school that we knew listened that we knew that she listened to a lot of like the shoegaze and British like indie rock things that we were getting into, like My Bloody Valentine, Pale Saints,
Hmm.
Jesus and Mary Chain, and all this stuff. Um, so we went to a free show in San Francisco in the middle of the city, and we were so inspired at that point that we went we knew that she worked in San Rio, which was like 2 blocks away from where we were watching the show. We
Hmm.
went there and we asked her if she wanted to sing for us. She said yes. We started jamming, and then maybe months after that or weeks after that, she said like, "Oh, hey, like I'm bringing my friends over to just like jam and stuff like that." And we are like, "Okay, cool." And in that group of friends, there was Valerie and her twin sister Veronica.
Hmm.
Um, they came up to the garage. We started jamming and making noise and just being like super musically stupid. Um, but it was a lot of fun. Um,
That shit
and
sounds
like
so much fun. I would kill to be there. That sounds so fun. Best nights of my life, just getting together with friends and like jamming like that. And this was Sweet
yeah,
Trip. This
yeah.
was Sweet Trip right here. It's pretty
And it
dope.
was and it was and it was like, first time that I meet these people, and I was like, wow, this is really cool that there are other people who listen to the stuff that me and Viet were listening to at the time. um and we were and I remember personally being like super impressed with Valerie, being like, she was just like chugging on her guitar, and she was like singing out loud, like out the top of her lungs, and she was like so uninhibited
Oh, I
and
love her.
so cool
Yeah.
and so like raw, and
Yeah.
she was so amazing that I was like really like, oh my god, this is just like, this person is really awesome. um the next day, me and Viet were like, okay, I think we should ask Valerie to join the band. Kind of like kind of like just sort of like push the other friend away and just like have Valerie be in the band, because we were both like, oh my god, this person is amazing. And that's how it started. The
Good
three of
move.
us.
Good move. Power move right
Yeah.
there. Worked out because Valerie's voice is in fact amazing. I like this question from Jim Balls. Jim Balls um, asked, "Do you have any advice for new musicians making music today, whether it's music creation, marketing, or anything about any sort of advice for any modern musicians or just anything?"
Ooh. Well, I am not going to give you any marketing advices because we're still trying to figure out how to market ourselves. So,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
for
but I will
sure.
say, like, as far as production, let's say like production or music making, um, I would say and this is probably like the very generic thing to say, but I think it's extremely important. Always keep an open mind. You will learn from you will learn from all the things that you like. You will learn for all the things that you don't know of, and you will learn from all the things that you actually don't like or even hate. Um, you will learn a lot of stuff from like the whole, rainbow of genres and sounds and productions and styles and things like that. So just always keep an open mind. I don't know, like, okay, this might be a really controversial revelation, but I personally don't think that My Bloody Valentine is that great of a band. Um, that said, My Bloody Valentine is like has been so influential in everything that we've done, from the very beginning all to like this day to this very minute. I've learned so much. I learned about just abusing effect pedals. I learned about weird guitar tunings and things like that, and just trying to be like super crazy.
Hmm.
Um, but if you were to ask me like what are my top five shoegaze bands, My Bloody Valentine wouldn't be in the top five. So it's kind of like that. You just gotta keep an open mind. Know that you can learn from everything that you can be exposed to.
That is amazing advice. Just because the chat, I'm seeing some My Bloody Valentine hate in the chat. I will just to keep it fair and balanced. I do think My Bloody Valentine is fucking amazing, but I do understand Robbie's perspective, and the important takeaway isn't about My Bloody Valentine whether they're good or not. We can debate that maybe in another stream or video. The,
Yeah.
the important takeaway is you got to keep an open mind because you're going to learn a shit ton from artists you might not even think is that good. Going back to high school when I was like 15, 16 years old, just getting into music, I thought that punk music, especially hardcore punk, I thought it sucked. I thought, I heard it. I heard, okay, these musicians are playing like three chords really fast. They're sloppy. They're not hitting the notes perfectly. They're just screaming. It sounds like no talent whatsoever. And I didn't like it, And then as I grew older and older and kind of approached it with an open mind, I saw the beauty of being able to make music that uses very sloppy elements, that anyone can play, some of these songs because they're so easy. But just
Yeah.
the fact that you're
Absolutely.
you're taking these like it kind of reminds me a little bit of what Robbie was saying earlier. Robbie was saying about how he had his ambitions way up there, and then he kind of figured out, he can use his simple tools that he has to just kind of push it to the limit. He doesn't need to have like an expensive $100,000 studio to make music. And I feel like punk music, what I kind of learned from that is that's what I learned is like you don't need $100,000 to make a rock song that's powerful and emotional and complex. So keep an open mind. If there's some music you don't like, maybe you should go listen to it again. You know what I mean? Just figure out because you're gonna miss out what they're teaching. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like back in the early 90s, I used to hate electronic music. I thought it was really repetitive and really stupid
yeah,
and really dumb. But look at me now. It's like,
yeah,
I can spend hours listening to house music or
yeah,
drum and bass or whatever.
yeah,
So it's like it's kind of like that.
bro. You should just like just release like a low key just like techno album without announcing it or anything. Um, I would love to see you just. I would love to. My dream right now is we all meet up at the. Hold on, what's it called again? It was like the. What was the name of your friend's bar again? I'm gonna find it.
The Trappist.
We're all gonna meet up at the Trappist. We're all gonna meet up at the Trappist. Robbie's gonna be the DJ, playing some good old fashioned house music. All right. By the way, can everyone please stop trolling in the chat? Like I can see people are trolling. Like the troll levels are increasing. I didn't get any moderators, so I'm just gonna ask you very nicely. I mean, I could ban you, but house music does not. Oh, you said house music fucks. That's not trolling. I thought you said house music sucks. Okay, so you
Oh,
weren't trolling. No, house music does fuck. Um, Okay, so anyways, I was off on a little tangent there. Um, that was some great advice. That was some great advice. Anyways, now I'm kind of lost my train of thought. Punk Revolution. Now, what is your favorite punk album and band? You asked us. Time to ask you. So I do. I'd say the first punk album I fell in love with was the debut Bad Brains album. Because that to me just so fast, so much energy, such an interesting sound. So I'd say if you're someone who's not in love with punk, try out Bad Brains' first album. That's the album that got me into it. But nowadays, for me, I'd say the album Downsided. It's just like a 7-minute EP by No Comment. I worship that album. That to me is like a masterpiece. It kind of blew my mind to see how much complexity could be squeezed into 7 minutes. So it's very, very fast, very, very intense. A lot of people do not like it, but it kind of blew my mind to see how much, the genre of punk, which kind of presents itself as super aggressive and very, a lot of times punk seems more focused on just sounding masculine and angry and everything more than any complexity and intelligence. But No Comments blew my mind to see how a lot of punk actually has a lot of, just as much complexity and intelligence as any other genre. So,
Cool. I'm writing it down. I'm gonna check it
oh,
out later.
sick! Yeah, I've been telling everybody like please check out the CP and like listen to it. Anyways, we got some good questions here. Lots of people are asking you about like favorite house artists, favorite techno, D&B. I don't know. Like, do you have any like off the top of your head any like electronic projects you kind of want to, flex right now and let people know you like?
Sure. So what is it? House, techno, and D&B. I guess I'll start with that. House. I really like this guy, Herbert. He's from the UK, and he's known for making house beats with samples of like appliances and dishes and pottery and things like that. Really cool stuff. Um, I really like his music. I think like not only is he like kind of like far out and experimental, but his music is really accessible and really soulful and jazzy and housey,
Mm-hmm.
and I really like that.
Nice.
Um, my favorite record by him, well, it's kind of like it's a tie. So he made a record called Around the House that is really really cool. And then after that, like several years later, he made a record called Bodily Functions, where he basically samples bodily sounds. So like
Mm.
he'll have someone like that and like mic the armpit fart, things like that,
Wow.
and like
Okay.
sounds from the mouth and things like that. But it's really artistically really really well done,
Wow.
and it's a very emotional record. It's really really like heart
Please,
wrenching. It's really good.
please send me this. Please send me this. This
Sure.
sounds so cool. Um, hold on. What was the project called again?
So Herbert. So his name is Matthew Herbert. But I think he goes by Matthew Herbert or Herbert.
Okay.
Either way, you'll find him.
Okay. Dope. All right. I'm just gonna Google Matthew Herbert. I'm gonna put it in another tab, and I'm gonna check that out later. Good suggestion.
Awesome.
That sounds cool. Um, I got a few questions here. So one is about your record label. What was the name of your record label again?
Darla.
Darla. Okay, so how did you get involved with Darla and like what was that kind of like? Because Darla, I don't know. I mean, I can't think of too many artists off the top of my head who've released stuff. What other? I don't know if I would even know any other artists from Darla. Like, what's Darla's deal?
So you may know at least one more artist from Darla Records. My Morning Jacket started with Darla Records.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. Okay, so it's
Yeah,
a bigger
they
record than I thought, I guess. But I
yeah,
guess.
it's fairly big, but still fairly underground. I think they have a good solid foundation in the industry. And then with my morning jacket, they were just so popular they just like blew up.
Gotcha. All right.
um,
Uh,
So we met.
yeah.
So the story of how we met Darla Records is kind of we're still not completely sure how that started.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I think the consensus between me and Valerie is that we were starting out as Sweet Trip. We sent out demo cassettes to a bunch of people. One of those cassettes was so someone from online magazine or some sort of like DIY shoegaze and dream pop magazine got a hold of it,
Mm.
liked it so much that he might have forwarded it to Darla Records, and then Darla Records sort of like came back to us and they were like, "Oh, we want to put your stuff out." Um, I think that's what me and Valerie remember. It might be a little more nuanced than that, but I'm not really sure at this point.
Yeah, to me, it's such an interesting thing talking about record labels and stuff because like nowadays, I know some people who are signed to some pretty solid record labels and people who work at labels and stuff, and it's just even though I feel like I know above average, kind of like a little bit of like the record how record labels function and stuff. It's still it's still to me a little bit of a mystery in terms of like it does seem like you got to know the owner of the record and know the people who
Mhm.
are already signed and just it's like a whole kind of network. But
Mhm.
I guess going back to like the 90s, it sounds like it's equally as mysterious. Like it sounds like you're telling me right now you released music to this record label and you don't even know 100% how that ended up really falling into place. But I mean, my mind,
It's also my it's
yeah.
also my fault. It's also our fault. You know, when we were starting out, Viet was basically like our manager. Like he was playing bass and he was part of the band, but he was like the business person. He was the one who carried. He was the one who had like the the tasks of like getting us shows and interviews and whatnot. So he had a better understanding of what was happening. And for me and Valerie, we were just like, okay,
Yeah.
it's like, sure, a label wants to sign us. Okay, great. Who are they? Um, um, and that was really it. I think it's the mystery is comes from our personalities of being so aloof and
Mm-hmm.
so naive sometimes that we just don't pay attention.
That sounds good to me. Like, um, so okay, we got a good question here. I got some questions I'm loading up in my head, but I want to answer this chat one.
Yeah.
Someone asked, do you recommend if you're a new artist who has an
Mhm.
album that they're working on, should they aim for the label or should they stay independent? And I'll answer my quick opinion on that, which is, in my opinion, don't release an album through a record label just for the sake of releasing it through a record label. Like if you have a record label that's down to release your album, but it's a record label you don't give a shit about, you don't care about any of the artists on it, you don't care about anything about it, don't release it through that label just to say you released through a label. In my opinion, if you release it independently, like I have a lot of fun with that. I love having the full control over all of that and all of that. Because you have to understand, when you're signing through a label, a lot of the times you're just giving them the music and they release it. And maybe you don't have time to worry about releasing a record and that works for you. But for me, releasing a record's pretty fun. However, if there's a record label, like I said, that either you don't have time to deal with releasing an album because you got a lot of stuff going on in your life, you can hand it to a record label and they'll do a good job. It's not so easy to get a record label who's down to release it, but it's worth asking around to see what your options are. And then if there's a record label that has released a bunch of like albums that you love and it's a record label that you're excited as fuck about, then yeah, you can definitely do the record label. But the truth is, it's actually not so clear. And self-releasing can be really awesome, and records labels can be a huge pain in the ass to deal with. So, there's no right or wrong answer, in my opinion. I don't know if Robbie has any opinions about it.
I actually agree with that 100%. I think I would add that it really depends on you as an artist and what you are willing to like what you're willing to work on, what you're willing to take on. Um, it's if you get a record label, it's easy um, to get your stuff made into physical products. Um, and then there's also there, and then you have like the leeway of like having the contract where money is put into making that physical product as long as you pay it back, obviously from sales or whatnot. Um, some labels offer like really good marketing options, and touring options and things like that. Um, but at the same time, there are a lot of labels who are just, that there might not be a good fit for you, or if they're a good fit, that might not that might not be the right thing for you as far as like what they're willing to do for you and what you have to give up for them as well. So it's kind of like, personally, I don't think there's a right answer. I think it really depends on what you're willing to put up with. Um, and I think that requires a lot of research, and a lot of conversations that you'll have to instigate. Um, but there's no solid answer for that
Yeah,
at all.
absolutely. And I think it's if you go back to maybe like the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, a lot of the time just given the limitations of technology at the time and everything, that lots of artists were pretty dependent on a record label to make it big. And I think a little bit today there's still kind of like the myth that kind of perseveres, that you like need, like the record label is the key to the kingdom. You get a record label, you make it big, period. But nowadays, you got to kind of get that myth out of your head. That's how it was in the past. Nowadays, you really have to look at every single contract, individual situation, and think about it like for what it is. Um,
Absolutely.
but I got,
Absolutely.
yeah, we got some some questions here. So Robbie, so first off, I want to ask you, what do you
Mhm.
just like to listen to in your free time lately? What are you listening to lately? And then someone asks you, do you listen to like your own Sweet Trip music at all? And if you do, what do you like to listen to from Sweet Trip?
So for the first one, my answer is really boring. I haven't been listening to music at all, um, since the record came out, and
Hmm.
even months before that. So if I do find myself listening to something, I might be at Aaron's bar, the Trappist, and he might be playing something on
Hell
on
yeah,
the speakers,
yeah,
and I get to hear some things like that, from there. Um, and I think that I like the band Squid from, I think they're from the UK.
yes, great
Um,
choice, great choice.
yeah, because
Yeah,
yeah,
this,
Aaron loves the band, and every time I go
yes,
to the Trappist, he's playing it. So I'm like, oh, yeah, this is pretty cool.
yeah,
Um, so there's that. But if I'm not there, I haven't really been listening to anything at all. If I do, it might be for like it might be like comfort music, kind of
hmm,
like comfort food, comfort music. So I'll
yeah,
just like listen to something that I'm just very familiar with. But then
yeah,
like but then like because I've listened to it so much, I only have like this much patience for it.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so it's really, so then I just like put it aside. And so that's really it. And what was the other question?
Do you listen to any of your own Sweet Trip music at all?
Oh,
And if you do, is there
right.
any like Sweet Trip stuff that you actually enjoy revisiting and listening to, or is it kind of just like you worked your ass off on it, we're putting that in the past, or do you actually like feel good about it, like listening to it?
Um, well, not this year. This year, I guess I'm bundling Sweet Trip music with the rest of the music world,
Hmm.
and so like after the record came out, or even before the record came out, once the record was done, I just kind of like, like I haven't listened to anything, and I haven't listened to any Sweet Trip whatsoever, unless I really have to, like to approve a mix or approve a master or things like that.
Hmm.
Um, but when I do, if I do listen to Sweet Trip stuff, I listen to, I will listen to everything, but it really depends on the context. If I'm feeling really nostalgic about, the beginning of the band and things like that, then I will listen to our first record, Halika.
Hmm.
Um, if I'm, if I want to listen, if I want to, I will listen to like Velocity Design Comfort for that reason, and also just in a way to sort of like, kind of like in a research kind of mode where
Mm.
like I'm listening to the record just to like get some inspiration or like try to understand what the hell happened over there. Um,
Same,
when I
same. I listened to that record for the exact same reason. I didn't even make it. I'm just like, I gotta sit down and take notes on this record because what is going on here? You know?
I know that's really bad of me. um, and if I listen to you, will never know why. It'll just be for I feel that I tend to listen to you, will never know why whenever things feel kind of like dark or sad or um or like if I'm feeling down because
me,
it is
me
a really
too. Me too, bro. Sounds like you and I
it,
listen to this. It's like, bro, are you really in this band? Are you faking right now? Are you just pretending to be Robbie and just like just saying what you why when you listen to it? No, no, that's good stuff. Good stuff. I love to hear that. I really do. Um, because like I said, it reminds me of how I listen to your music too. One question I actually someone asked here about if you listen to any like Latino music like cumbia, ranchera, salsa,
mm,
reggaeton, or anything. And I guess just like to add on to that, like I'm kind of curious, what is your like like background in terms of like where your family's from and stuff like that? If you're cool sharing that.
yeah, sure. I'm originally from Panama. And I lived in Panama for about 13 and a half years, and then I moved to the Bay Area right after that, and I've been living in the Bay Area ever since.
Hell yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think growing in Panama. I mean, I don't know how it is in other Latin American countries, but I feel that in Panama we just had like Panama. I always felt like Panama is kind of like the Caribbean version of the Bay Area, where you have like so many cultures from all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Especially a really strong Caribbean um, presence as far as like food and culture and music is concerned. When I was growing up in Panama, aside from being like a really young, naive, stupid little preteen metalhead,
Yeah.
quote unquote, quote unquote, I was also listening to a lot of reggae, a lot of dub, a lot of like calypso.
Good choices, man. Good choices.
Yeah, like a lot of cumbia. A lot of my parents like cumbia. They like
Yes.
salsa. They like merengue. Um, Anything that was like from that, from that little strip of Central America and then the Caribbean islands and things like that. I was really exposed to that.
Yeah.
Um,
We
yeah,
got someone in the chat right now saying there was a quadrilla gang. They're saying Panama Chucha, let's go. Ayala Pinga, vamos Robbie. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're from Panama too, but I'm telling you like I'm Brazilian. I listen to a lot of Brazilian music. You know what
oh
I mean?
god,
Like
yeah.
Latin America's we're just
Well,
built different. We're just built different. We're better musicians. You know?
to that Panamanian fan,
Yeah.
hey, que sopa para de ser tan cochino.
All right, what he said. I agree with that. I don't really speak Portuguese. Sorry, I know a little bit, but um, anyways, yeah. Like, I mean, that sounds great. Like, that sounds dope. Growing up in San Francisco, you got some, you know, lots of people from all around the world coming there. Lots of, you getting exposed to all this kind of music. And that's to me. It's like I live in Brooklyn. Like, you walk a block, you're gonna find, lots of Puerto Ricans. You walk another block, you're gonna find lots of people who are Italian. Like it's just like super everywhere in New York City. It's like it's very very diverse, and I get exposed to a ton of shit, food, music,
Mhm.
and stuff. It's dope. It's dope, and it kind of blows my mind. Like there's so many people in America who are so concerned about like immigration and stuff. It's like if you let more
Mhm.
immigrants in, we're gonna get more sweet trips. You know what I mean? Like we want people from around the world to come in here, and we're gonna get these geniuses from all around the world who are dropping some good music. So that's just my perspective. But
That's sweet.
yeah. Anyways, one of my
I'm kind of
favorites
jealous.
was that
I'm kind of jealous. I'm kind of jealous of the East Coast because I feel like the East Coast has a lot of Panamanian restaurants, and here in California, there are like none.
interesting.
So
I don't even know
yeah,
what food is popular in Panama. Like what do you guys got going on there?
it's very similar to Cuban. It's very similar to Puerto Rican and to Colombian as well.
Okay. I
There's
kind of
some.
figured there's gonna be like kind of overlap in what they like to eat there.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, my dad and I, in a month from now, we're going to the Dominican Republic. I'm excited about that since I've never been to
Oh,
the
nice.
Caribbean, but like should be pretty dope. But anyways, little TMI, too much personal information there, but whatever. Sweet. Let's see. One of my favorite Sweet Trip collabs is with the Junior Varsity KM. How did those remixes come about? What does Robbie think makes a good remix? Making it
Mm.
something totally different, or keeping it kind of as the foundation and just adding your own touch? So kind of a bunch of questions in there. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Interesting. So the collaboration with Junior Varsity KM, when Sweet Trip started with Darla Records, a few months after that, they signed Junior Varsity KM, and we sort of became um, like live show buddies. So we will like play shows together and try to like um, book shows for the other band and try to like collaborate in that way. And it just seemed like a natural progression. I think that Kendrick McDowell, who is Junior Varsity KM, he just asked us for a remix, and we said, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." And we sort of like remix each other in some iteration or another. Um, yeah, it's fairly simple. He just asked, and we did. Um, what makes a good remix? Whether it should stay close to the original or just be completely out there. I think it really depends on the song. Um, yeah, I think it really depends on the song. And I like to listen to. This might sound really like new agey, so I apologize for that. But like, I listened like for me, it's like I listen to the song and I just kind of like wait for the song to tell me which way it wants to go, and then I just go I go into this conversation between me and the song when making a remix, and then some other weird thing comes out of that. So it really depends on what the song is about, how it feels, how it sounds, how it could potentially sound, um, and then just go from there. And some songs are more catered to be closer to the original, and other songs are catered to just be completely like destroyed
Yeah. I
and
actually don't
shredded.
think I've listened to these remixes, but I gotta check it out. Someone's saying in the chat that it's amazing. I'm gonna check it out. I have one thing I'm actually kind of curious about since you brought up. What was it like growing up in Panama? And do you think how was your experience moving to the United States? And do you think that maybe even impacted like your perspective on music at all or anything, or got you interested in music at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that moving to the States definitely had a huge impact. Um, Panama is awesome. It's a great place. And my 13 and a half years that I lived there, they were like super happy. And, because I was, you have to think, I had to remember that I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
so, the whole saying of like um, actually, never mind. I'm not even gonna try to remember the saying.
Okay.
Um, but I was a kid and I was happy and I had a lot of friends and um, I was really, I was really outgoing, very confident, um, not necessarily in an asshole bully kind of way,
Mm.
but just like like at that early age, like I knew what I liked, I knew what I wanted in life, and I knew how to get it. And in many ways, I was just like not necessarily ruthless, but just like very direct. It's like this is what I want, this is what I'm getting. Moving to the States was like a complete like 180.
Mm-hmm.
Um, confidence just like went down the drain as soon as I moved to the States. One, because I looked different from all the other kids.
Yeah.
Two, I didn't know the language. Um, Three, my parents were like super overly protective because they had heard all the stories about like, I guess like one of the myths about California that us Panamanians heard was that if you look at a Californian, with a dirty look, you'll probably get shot. And so
Mm.
and so like we were like, me and my sister were like extremely guarded, super overprotected.
Yeah.
And you know, like I've always had an interest in music in Panama. Um, but I didn't really think much of it other than just like a fun thing that I really loved.
Yeah.
But then moving over here, having no friends, having no social life, being like confined to the apartment because my parents thought that I was gonna be decapitated by whoever in high school.
Yeah.
Sort of like made me, I don't want to say shut down, but just sort of like sort of like implode into my little bubble. And then within that little bubble, I found my love for music started to grow. And
Hmm.
it was like my escape from that bubble, and my way of grounding myself at that early age. Um, which I don't think it would have happened. I don't think that experience would have happened if I had stayed in Panama. I think that maybe if I had stayed in Panama up until adulthood, I would have been just like the guy who plays guitar with his friends,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
at some party. Where like
Yeah.
here, I got to find my own voice and my own self in music. So
Yeah,
that's
I mean, I
kind of
totally get everything you're saying. I can kind of relate to because my dad moved from Brazil to the United States when he was 19 years old, um, and that experience. He moved to Michigan, so pretty different. Panama to Bay Area is a huge difference, but Brazil to Michigan is like a big difference, and then maybe even more extreme just because Michigan's snowy and cold and totally different culture. And regardless, moving from outside the United States into the United States is like a massive. You're gonna fall into. You gotta figure out some way to make it tolerable. It sounds like you got this kind of concern. Your parents were guarding you like nuts because of what you've heard about. How people
Mhm,
from Panama are perceived and stuff too.
mhm,
So I kind of had a feeling that kind of maybe channeled a little bit into getting you interested in music because I know it's something that's people I think underestimate how difficult it can be to move from outside the United States, not knowing the language and then moving here. It's a huge thing that changes your life. So,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
it's good to see we've got lots of people in the chat. I'm sure there's gonna be also people on YouTube whenever they watch it. This is gonna be on YouTube so people can watch it forever.
Mhm.
Hopefully they can hear this and get a little excited to know we got some good artists from Panama. I can't think off the top of my head of any other artists from Panama. I'm sure there are, but this is a good question. Favorite slash inspirational movies. I don't know if you have any movies you're into, or if you're just I don't know.
Oh wow. Inspirational. I can't really think of anything. I'm sure there are, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But I will say like one of my favorite movies is probably the Lord of the Rings trilogy,
Hell
because
yeah,
I
great
because I love
choice.
I love the books. It's
Yes,
like
yes,
Tolkien is like one of the few like non-music things that I like to geek about.
yeah, yeah.
um and I love the movies. I
That
think
that
they're
and
really well done.
Frogger. You got Tolkien and Frogger. Those are the two.
Oh yeah, totally,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah. No, I feel that. Like I love I haven't read the books, but I love the movies, and I love fantasy. I love sci-fi. I'm a big geek, so maybe I should read the books, obviously, because they're classics. But that's dope. I mean, what do you like to do in your free time? You said you're not listening to music too frequently lately. You said that it doesn't seem like you have any movies off the top of your head. Do you just like to like read, chill out with family? What's going on lately?
Not much. I mean, other than the 9 to 5 job, I don't know. I just there's really not that much going on, to be honest.
Okay. Well, we'll get
It's like
you we'll get you to Brooklyn sometime. We'll throw a party for you so you can have
awesome.
you can have something going on. I feel that it's funny. I've had people ask me about like, do you get paid? Like, do I work full time off my Punk Revolution Now YouTube channel? And I'm like, bro, I'm losing money from this shit. Whatever. I mean, I'm happy to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just that here we got Sweet Trip, a giant from the indie underground music scene, and Robbie still got to work a 9 to 5 job. I work a 9 to 5 job. That's just the reality of it, and maybe that's the best way to do it, really. So you can actually make some money that you can you can actually spend on your creative activities. I know some people who are trying to dive directly into just doing music full time. It's not. It's really, if Sweet Trip still needs 9 to 5 jobs, then I promise you're gonna need 9 to 5 jobs too. Just a little reality check. Sorry to break it to you, but
Oh man.
yeah, I know. But anyways, but no, people think that like, oh, Punk Revolution now, like, do you make money off your 4,000 subscribers on YouTube? I'm like, no, I don't. Anyways, have you listened
Wait,
to Orca? Someone's asking, what was that?
hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm gonna get a beer.
Yeah,
I'll
go
be
get
right
yourself a beer. All right. Sounds good. You know what? I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick. We're going to take a 2-minute break real quick.
Well, it sounds like we're doing a beer break. Um, and again, this is what I'm drinking. It's the Elysian. Sorry, I need my glasses. Hold on a sec. Space Dust IPA. This is really good. I like it. What are you all drinking? If drinking or eating? I, I am now now I'm watching the chat and I see you Quadrilla gang. I guess you're the Panamanian dude, huh? Or girl, whichever. Where in Panama are you at Quadrilla gang?
All right, we're back. I had to use the bathroom. Anyways, we took our 2-minute break. Robbie, what's your favorite anime? I don't know if you watch anime.
Um, I don't really watch anime. I used to watch anime when I was a kid, living in Panama. Because in Panama we got a lot of anime imported into the country.
Mm.
So I would say that from like the late 70s to early 80s, even late 80s, my favorite anime it's called well there are two. One is a giant robot thing. I think it's called Messenger Z. Um, and then the other one is more like a soap opera thing called Candy Candy. Um, and those are the only two. I mean, there are more, but those are my favorites.
Wow. So,
And they're hella old. They're hella old.
yo, someone in the chat here, we got this quadrilla gang. They're saying, ha 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 ha, candy candy. Seems like maybe
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like we got some port.
He's a yeah, he's a
Panamanians.
he's a Panamanian, so he knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He or she knows what I'm talking about.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. I mean, that's so cool. Like, I didn't know anime was in Panama too. Obviously, anime is like amazing, so it's gonna spread all around the world. And but I never really thought about people. I got some friends who were from Central America and everything, and they seem to like be consuming a little bit more media from Asia and the rest of the world than Americans. A lot of people I know from America, they just really listen to American movies and music and everything. But It seems like if you're from Central America, where you don't really have too much, movies and stuff being made in Panama, you got to branch out to the whole world. So it's kind of cool to think, growing up in Panama, watching some anime.
Yeah, totally. I think the story goes that there wasn't a lot of money from Latin American countries to get American shows imported,
Yeah.
but it was a lot cheaper to get like Chinese and Japanese, excuse me, and Korean television imported into Latin America, and that's why anime and Japanese television and Chinese television is really big in our countries.
I did not know that. That's a great thing to know. And I think, honestly, Americans are just catching on to the fact that lots of good Korean and Japanese and then Chinese movies and shit. Like, obviously, a Squid Game right now is massive. Like, Squid Game's great. I love Squid Game. Squid Game. I love Squid Game, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, Like, I got some friends who are just, like, obsessed with all these Korean TV shows and stuff, so. This is a good one. When was the last time you got a haircut, Robbie?
Oh my god. 2008. No. 2011. So maybe like 10 years ago.
Okay. Wow. The fact that you answered that. Wow. Okay. I was expecting you to say I don't know. Let's go. Let's move on. But you knew the year, 2011. Well, that's dope.
Yeah.
It looks good, man. It looks great. I love it.
Yeah, I remember the day. That was in 2011. I got my U.S. citizenship, and so like to make myself presentable, I just like bust my hair as neatly as I could, and that was the last time I cut my hair.
Wow.
So I remember.
So yeah, someone say here it's the 10-year anniversary of Robbie's haircut. So I mean, it looks good. I like it. It looks very like you're about to drop a shoegaze masterpiece is what it looks like to me. You know what I mean?
Oh my god.
So yeah. Anyways, that's super chill. Let's see what we got going on. Movies, we already asked about that. Anime. Oh, okay. Have you listened to any Drain Gang? Drain Gang.
No, I have not.
Okay. I figured the answer was no. I just had to ask that because people hyperpop Drain Gang. It's just the modern, I don't even know what to call it, movement and experimental electronic music. I don't know. Anyways, I did try. Let's see.
I'm writing it down. I know
Drain Gang.
I've heard people mention it.
Yeah.
I've just been really lazy about it, but
Yeah.
I'll try to remember.
Okay, there we go. So if anything comes from this interview, I want everyone now to know that Robbie from Sweet Trip is gonna listen to Drain Gang because I put that in his brain. So you're welcome, everybody. We're combining the worlds of the universes of music into one place here. So they're like experimental rap from Sweden. They're like
Okay.
But they're cool. Anyways, I do want to ask about like, I guess I'm a little bit curious about what's going on in like your personal life here. Like I mean, obviously, feel free to share as much as you want, but like I'm kind of curious, like what's your life been like the past couple of years with the pandemic and stuff? Like I know you said you just been working and not too much is going on, but you dropped an album and stuff this year. Like what's been going on recently with you?
I mean, not much. I mean, we started working on the record, and that was really awesome and very time consuming, and it was just an amazing time. And we released that record, and after that record came out, it's just things just got chilled after that.
Keeping it low key.
I don't know. Yeah, keeping it low key. The pandemic has been hard, and it has been really depressing, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of energy to sort of like ground yourself, so that you don't get as crazy as you could if you don't. But you still do, no matter what. Or at least for me, I can't speak for you or anyone else. but yeah, it's a lot of work to get grounded in order to not go crazy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. Other than that, there's really nothing that exciting going
What?
on
So
in
was
my
this newest album? Were you working on recording it and stuff like during the pandemic, or did you finish it before the pandemic? What was like kind of like the timeline?
We recorded it during the pandemic. So we started we started writing at the end of 2019. I believe that the first song that we had, aside from as I mentioned, like what is it, an hour and 45 minutes ago, that the song Polar Equals and In Sound We Found Each Other were songs that we already had from several years ago. We started working on the record in 2019. The first song that we wrote was it's actually the last song on the record
Oh, nice.
because so that's how it is, I guess. Um, and then other songs started to come out, and then the pandemic hit. Um, and then we just have to like work our way into trying to figure out what the best logistics where to meet together,
Mm-hmm.
do recordings and
Yeah, I
blah
was
blah
gonna
blah.
ask if the pandemic impacted the process of like making the newest album, or if it was just kind of
No,
just not really, just gotta be maybe be a little bit more cautious with like the usual social distancing and stuff, but not like a huge impact, right?
not actually. I personally feel that it didn't have an impact at all. In fact, it had maybe like the opposite of an impact. I think that if it wasn't for the fact that we were making this record and we were making music and we were getting together and doing this, I think that our lives might have been a little more miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like the pandemic didn't have an impact on the music making of this of like creating this record. It was more like making this record helped us cope with the pandemic. Um,
Yeah.
you know, you know, me and Valerie will go out into the world and we will have to be super careful and sanitize and wear masks and things like that.
Yeah.
But like when we were here doing the record together, it's like we just didn't care. We
Yeah.
were like
Absolutely. Yeah.
we were like a unit.
Yeah.
This is like our space, this is our time, this is our world. Um, and we did it that way, and I think that it saved our psyche a lot, or at least
Yeah.
for me. I can't speak for her, but it did for me.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's the thing is like that. I 100% agree that the pandemic was depressing as fuck, but it's good to kind of look at the positives a little bit in terms of like, I know lots of people have had their lives impacted pretty significantly one way or the other, um,
Mhm.
and hopefully, it's like in the future we can look back and say, like, well, we had this kind of cool thing going on with this music or album or movie. Everyone's got their own like kind of thing they're working on. And it's
Mhm.
definitely the pandemic has become like 10 times more important because it makes the difference between falling into a rut of intense depression or releasing it's been tough for everybody. But
Yeah,
okay,
totally.
we got this kind of interesting question. New album is great, but how did the other 2021 Sweet Trip release, Walkers Beware, We Drive into the Sun, and
Mm.
Stab/Slow come about? How did that come about?
Um, let's see if I remember. Yeah, I do remember. That was just like that was like a year ago. Um, so let's see. I think it might be. Yeah, I think it might be okay to talk about it a little bit. So I think when we did either the second or the third pressing of the reissue of Velocity Design Comfort, um, we had chosen, like the final product didn't come out the way that we wanted to exactly, and we were really worried that people were gonna complain about it,
Mm-hmm.
and so one of the things that Darla Records suggested was to maybe record record some songs, put it in some sort of release that we could combine with the reissue of Velocity Design Comfort in order to like mitigate any complaints from fans or whatnot. Um, and so we were kind of like scrambling as to like what to do. We were like working really heavily on the new record, and we didn't really have anything that was outside of the record that we could share, right? Um, so we just thought like, okay, maybe we can just use Walker's Beware from the record just and then just like press it as is at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
which is not it's not the final version, but it's very close to the final version. Yeah, we were like, okay, let's just press this as a single. Um, let's come up, and then we came up with Stab Slow. Did I? No, I think actually Stab Slow was a track that I had that I made several years ago that I felt wasn't going anywhere. And Valerie suggested it, and then we just added it. We just like finished it and added it as the B side for that. So the whole point of that single was to like mitigate any complaints about the second or third repressing of Velocity Design Comfort. But when that repressing came out, nobody noticed what the issue was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we were like, oh, okay.
What? Wait, what was the issue?
I guess I'm not gonna say.
Okay, all right, all right. That is.
That, that that's
Uh,
gonna remain a That's gonna remain a mystery.
I'm gonna study it. I'm gonna put a big Twitter thread like Robbie from Sweet Trip is a fraud. This is the issues here, here, here. No, I'm just kidding. But that's interesting. That's a pretty cool story. And do you think also maybe releasing those songs maybe kind of helped you build some confidence too for the new record too? Just getting some songs out there a little bit, or is it just mostly just for the release of the repressing of the Velocity Design Comfort?
No, yeah, I think it did help in the confidence of releasing the record. Um, I
Good.
Yeah, because like I feel like I'm conscious. I'm very conscious of the fact that between our first record and our second record, there's a 5 year gap, and then from the second record to the third record, there's a 6 year gap. I think, right? Yeah, it's a 6 year gap, and then from You Will Never Know Why all the way to our new record, there's like an 11 year gap. So I'm kind of like I like I guess I feel like a little exasperated when there's like gaps between music at
Mm-hmm.
this point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I wanted, like I wanted to release the record as soon as possible, but I also wasn't gonna force it to go out if I didn't feel that I was completed.
Yeah.
So it was really great to like have this like single thing that was like supposed to mitigate an error that then became an actually like proper single, to just like give people an idea of what we were doing a year ago. So yeah, I think it was great that we got a chance to do that.
Yeah, it worked out great. Do you think were you feeling like a decent amount of anxiety and pressure and like stress about the newest record? Like, were you worried that it wasn't going to live up to expectations and everything, or were you just having fun with it overall?
So we had total fun with it, 100%. That's not to say that we were not aware, or that at least we felt some sort of like some sort of like amount of expectations, um, because we're both aware that there's sort of like two camps when it comes to Sweet Trip fans. You have like the Velocity Design Comfort fans, and then you have the You Will Never Know Why
Mm-hmm.
fans. And both records are like, they're like, you know completely like night and day type of thing.
Yeah.
um so we were so we kind of felt that there might be some sort of like level of expectations in what we do in the future. But that said, we were really it was really easy for us to put that aside completely, like 100%, and not focus on that, and not let that influence what we were doing. This record is 100% us,
Amazing.
100%, 100% what we want to do and what we want to say and share to the world. Um, and we are, I feel that as musicians we're really honest in what we do, and I think that honesty in music and maybe just art in general is something that is extremely important.
Yeah. Oh, it makes a
I
yeah.
believe, yeah, I believe that, and I believe that that's the way to move forward in music and art and whatever. Um, so, but that's not to say, but then aside from that, once the record was done, once it was finished, and once it was ready to be released, we were, at least for me, I was like, oh, right. I forgot about the expectations. I
Yeah.
wonder what's going to happen at this point from this point forward,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we're humans, we're
Oh yeah.
vulnerable and we make ourselves vulnerable in one way or another.
I feel that every time I release any sort of EP or whatever, I'm just like even if it's just like a low key thing, I can't help but get really anxious like the week leading up to the release date, like what are people going to think, etc. But I mean, it makes me happy to
Mhm.
hear that that you had fun with it and we're just kind of sticking to what feels good for you and not thinking, not letting that expectations like dictate your artistic choices. And I think it really comes, like I said, it sounds like I think you can pick. I think everything you're saying about the music, the newest album, I feel like it comes through the music itself. Like, the fact that it's you and only you and Valerie, it's kind of a more intimate record. It kind of feels like you're just kind of doing what feels good for you. It all comes through the music, and I think that's really important and it's kind of interesting that you can sometimes you can hear that coming through the music. So, by the way, it's 8:56. I usually keep these streams to around 2 hours. I usually close around 9ish, but obviously we can go later or earlier, whatever. I don't care that much, but if anyone has any other um, okay, so any other really important questions that you're just dying to ask, go ahead and ask it now. But someone asked if Sweet Trip has any plans for its touring in the future. He answered that earlier. He said that he loves the idea of touring, but he can't really like definitively say there's any plans right now. But we're gonna get him out here in Brooklyn at some point. I'm gonna get him out here. Don't worry.
Awesome.
We'll be tweeting him every day until he does it. Um,
Pizza tour.
yeah.
Yay.
This is a good question. Someone didn't ask this yet. How did you feel finding out that your music was gaining traction and getting praise online years later? What was that like to you?
That was really humbling and unbelievable. At first, I guess my initial reaction was, that's not. I was like, No way, that can't happen," because um, when Velocity Design Comfort came out and when You Will Never Know I came out, I felt that people just didn't care. It fell off the wayside. Um, by the time that we were tour, we didn't really tour for You Will Never Know Why, but we did a few shows to try to support that record, and we were still playing to like we were still playing in small clubs of in front of like 20 people, and like 10 of those 20 people were like our friends and families. So it's like,
Yeah.
I love my friends and family, but it's like musically, as far as like music business is concerned, it's like you don't really count.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like I probably sound like an asshole saying that, but I
No, no,
feel
I
like
get it.
maybe people understand what. Um, so it's really weird to go from like feeling that half of your audience is your family and friends, and the other half are just like people there who might enjoy your music, to like all of a sudden, well, I know it's been like a gradual thing,
Hmm.
but I have been so unaware of it that when I did became aware of it, to me it was a sudden change.
Hmm.
Um, and to get that sudden change, to get punched in the face with that sudden change is really overwhelming, really like crazy. Like really, like there's like at least 1,000 people that like our music. That's just so crazy. That's just amazing. Um, and I think the most important thing, or like the thing that has touched me in the heart, more than the numbers and the statistics is hearing from people who like really connect with the music in a visceral and emotional way. And never expected that from anyone, really. You know, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could imagine that's amazing. Well, if you do end up doing a tour, I wouldn't be surprised if you end up having hundreds and hundreds of people in the audience now that you've grown so much. Like I'll be honest with you right now. I remember my ex-girlfriend. She told me she was in a Sweet Trip.
Oh,
This was, and we broke up about maybe 8 months ago. I would love to send her this interview. Like, oh, check this out. Me and Sweet Trip having a little conversation. Look what you left, huh? Look what you did. But
oh man,
no, don't worry. I'm not gonna do that. That's why I brought you on. By the way, it was just to get back at my ex. But no,
I see.
yeah.
I see.
Anyways, that's pretty. I mean, that's pretty dope. Like, I think that's lots of people have lots of complaints about the modern state of the music industry, and I do too. Lots of legitimate criticism of Spotify and everything. But I do think one good thing, if we have to look now, is it does seem a lot of really fantastic artists that were underground and maybe would have stayed underground forever. Fortunately, because the Spotify algorithm does reward music that people kind of come back to and listen to a lot. There's gonna be some artists, like I know Duster as well, another kind of like underground artist from the 90s. They've gotten big on Spotify too. RateYourMusic.com obviously deserves a lot of credit. We can go through all the issues with all of these different platforms or whatever, but I think the bigger picture is like it does reward, not perfectly. It's not a perfect system, but it does. If there's some great music out there, it's gonna help more people find it sometimes. So Rate Your Music.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, Rate Your Music also got me into Sweet Trip as well. Good website. Thank God for Rate Your Music. That's what I'm saying. It's like Sweet Trip used to be like that. Oh yeah, I'm on Rate Your Music. I got that Rate Your Music swag. I know. You know what I mean? Like I know. Like the cool, underground artists. But now but now you got bigger, which is better. Which is obviously it's better that way. But anyways, it's 9:02, so I think I'm gonna finish up the stream. But this was obviously so much fun. Like this is like such an exciting opportunity for me to talk to a musician that I've been listening to for years and years. And I gotta say, like, just based off this conversation, I can tell you're a really intelligent, really kind, good person, which makes me so happy to know that one of my favorite artists is also like a good person too. You know what I mean? But
thank you.
Any last words from you, Robbie? Anything else you want to say before we close it out? Any last questions that anyone feels is like super urgent they need to get out there? Anything?
Well, I guess I'll start. So our new record, A Tiny House and Secret Speeches, Polar Equals, is out. It's out on vinyl and CD. If you get the version of if you get the black vinyl version, then you also get a bonus 7-inch with 2 songs in there that we recorded late after the bulk of after the record was done. So they're pretty brand new, and I think they're pretty awesome. And reissues of You Will Never Know Why and Velocity Design Comfort are out, and if you bought them, they should be reaching you at this point, especially the Blade original cover version of You Will Never Know Why that is going to be out on CD and vinyl as well. So if you were bitching and moaning about the new cover for You Will Never Know Why, you get an option to get the Blade version instead.
Wait, hold on. What is the question?
Oh, no.
Wait. I'm sorry. I've got to be an asshole and ask you about all this. What's the new cover of You Will Never Know? I only know the Blade one. What's the new one? I'm gonna Google it right now.
Yeah, totally. So when we were working on reissuing You Will Never Know Why, Me and Valerie decided that we didn't want to have the Blade cover
Yeah.
um, because for several reasons. Like one, we got a lot of DMs from fans saying how like how that record like how much that record meant to them,
Hmm.
and a lot of them made reference to depression and mental illness, and at the same, and then during the period where between the period where the record came out up to the present, we have had personal instances where like people who have been dear to us have actually taken their own lives.
Hmm.
And so like we were really we looked at the cover, we looked at the blade, we looked at the theme of the record, which is really dark and depressing if you think about it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we thought, it's like we really, you know like we should be like a little more mindful about this blade thing, and not give the wrong impression or give the wrong thoughts for people to harm themselves. um that was really important to us, and that's the reason why we changed the cover. If you get if you have the reissue with the new cover, you will see there's like a little comic thing in there with a vampire who kind of like selfishly saves people who are about to take their own lives, because the vampire wants to keep them alive so he can suck their blood. So it's kind of like a twisted um
That's good
um
shit right there. I gotta get that. I gotta pick that up. And I'm looking. I'm
so
yeah.
yeah, it is kind of like a twisted amend of the original cover and whatever impressions the original cover. But we got a lot of people saying that they loved the blade so much, and Darla Records said, we should just we should just like release the record on vinyl with
Yeah.
the original blade. And we're like, okay, fine. I think that at this point we made our point about our views about
Yeah.
the blade. Hopefully
Yeah.
people got it. So let's just go on and
I think I'm
do
looking
the
at
blade.
the reissue cover though too. It looks like there's like kind of people like kind of laying around like in a circle sort of thing going on. Is that right? That looks dope
Yeah.
as fuck. That looks dope as fuck. I know, but I know how it is. It's like sometimes people like get like really attached to a specific cover and stuff, and they want they want the original. But the reissue cover looks dope as fuck. So
Thank you.
um, I love that. So, anyways, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks so much to everybody who's come through in the chat, asked some awesome questions. Um, we've got lots of great questions, and obviously following, subscribing me means a lot. And obviously, please stream and listen to, and go ahead and actually go buy that vinyl. Go buy that vinyl that's coming through, for Sweet Trip. And we got good. We got a supporter here from Panama, so that's pretty fucking awesome. And hopefully, other people from Panama will see, like, check this out. You know what I mean? Like, your country is dope as fuck. I need to visit sometimes. I need to visit Panama. Do you visit Panama ever?
Absolutely. I've only gone back twice, 2008 and 2010.
Yeah.
Totally awesome. Because I never been in Panama as an adult, so going to Panama as an adult was an experience. To be able to go to bars and drink and
Oh
get
hell
crazy and stuff like
yeah,
that.
hell
Really
yeah.
awesome.
All right, well that sounds good. I'm gonna go there, and hopefully someday, you know what? Hopefully someday you can tour there, and you just have hundreds of Panamanians. Robbie, Robbie, Rob. You know what I mean? That's what's gonna be coming up. So, all right.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
It will
All right.
probably be like 10 Panamanians or something.
Okay, well, and yeah, everyone in the chat's giving you lots of love. Really happy that you did this, and I definitely appreciate it. And you're totally down to come on whenever if you want to come do this again sometime in the future. And I would love to, see hang out more and whatever, and see you live hopefully someday. But thanks again, everybody. Thanks for coming through in the chat. Thanks so much to Robbie for coming through. This was like so fascinating. Love your music. Love this conversation. You are a legend in the underground music community, and so awesome. So that's everything. That's all I gotta say, everybody. And thanks for following and subscribing, etc.